Hey there, in this video we'll talk about string slicing or string indexing. They are the same thing, and by the end of this video you will know everything that there is to know about this topic. Alright, I'm in the idle shell, and suppose I create a string, so quotation marks, and inside the string I write hello. Now the thing that you have to understand is inside a string you have individual elements. Okay, so the H is an individual element, the E is an individual element, and all of these are elements that are present inside a string. The next thing is each element is present at a specific position or index. Okay, so if you start from left to right, the first element is always at 0 position, the second element is at 1, the third is at 2, and it increases in that fashion. Now position and index are the same thing. Okay, so if you say the position of H is 0, it is the same as saying the index of H is 0. Okay, in the world of programming we use the word index quite often. So whenever you hear somebody use this word index, they basically mean the position of the element. Okay, like the index of O is 4. Using the index of the element, you can select a specific element inside a string. Okay, so let's just say our goal is to select this H, which is the first element present at 0 index from this entire string. Let's see how we can do that. So we have the same string, hello, and our goal is to select the first element, the H, which is at 0 index. So after the string, you will add square brackets, and inside the square brackets, you have to write the index of the element that you want to select. So if I write 0, hit enter, it gives me the first element, which is H. Now similarly, if you want to select the E, okay, so write the string, hello, add square brackets after it, and inside the square bracket, you write the index of the element that you want to select. So the index of E is 1, okay? The index of H is 0. For E, it is 1. So if I write 1 here, hit enter, now it gives me the E. So basically, using the index of the element, you can select a specific element like this. The next thing is, in Python, you also have negative index values as well, okay? In that case, if you start from right to left, the last element is always at -1. The second last is always at -2. The third last is at -3. And it is decreasing in that order, okay? On the right side, the first element is -1, -2, -3, and it is decreasing. Now suppose your goal is to select this O from this string. Now you have two options, okay? If you use the positive index, you can use 4 to select the O. But if you want to use the negative index, you can use a -1 to select the O. So basically, to select an element, you have two options. You can use the positive index or you can use the negative index. So I will write the same string here, hello, and square bracket after it. So if I use the positive index, the O has an index of 4, okay? So 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The O is at 4. So write 4 here, hit enter, and you get the O. But if you use negative indexing, okay, add the same string here, hello, square bracket. Now we know that in negative indexing, the element from the right side, the first element from the right side, which is O, is at -1. So if I write -1 here, hit enter, it still gives me the O, okay? Now notice these two, okay? We have a 4 here, which is positive. We have a -1 here. So to select one element, you have two options. You can use positive indexing or you can use negative indexing. All right, so far we are able to select one element, and we can do that with positive index or negative index. But what if you want to select more than one element, okay? What if you want to select the H and E at the same time from the string? How can you do that? Now, when your goal is to select more than one element, you have to provide it 2 index values instead of 1, okay? So you have to give it the start index, then you add a colon, and then you have to give it the end index. So 2 index. Now in this case, our goal is to select the H and E. Now H is at 0 index, okay? So for the start, I will write 0. Now what should I write for the end, okay? The index of E is 1, okay? 0, 1. But if I write a 1 here and hit enter, I do not get the E, which seems strange in the beginning because the index of E is 1 and we put 1 in here. So why does it not give us the E? Now the thing is, the end index is not included, okay? This is something that you have to remember and practice so that you get used to it. If you write 1 here, it is going to give you everything before 1, okay? Not the 1. In this case, if I want to include the E, I have to write 2 here, okay? 2, 0, 1, 2 instead of 1. So 2. Now I am telling it to start at 0, go to 2, but do not include the 2, okay? It is going to give me everything before 2. And before 2, we have 0 and 1 index, okay? Which is the H and E. So you have to practice this, okay? The end index is not included. Another example is, let's just say we want to select these three, L, L, and O. So write the string here, square bracket, and we want to select these three. So what is the start value in this case is the question. So 0, 1, 2. 2 is going to be the start value, which is this. So 2 colon. Now what should be the end value, okay? So this is at 2, this is at 3, this is at 4. But again, if you write 4 here, the O will not be included, okay? Because again, O is at 4 index and the end index is not included. So again, you have to give it one number higher here. So instead of 4, it should be 5, okay? And using this approach, you can select multiple elements at the same time from a string. The next thing that I want to show is the default value for start and end, okay? So for example, if I write the same string here, square bracket, let's just say I write 2 as a start. Now 2 means this L, okay? Colon, and 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna write 5, okay? And we get these three. Now what if I skip the end value, okay? Instead of 5, I just skip it. It's empty now. There's no end here. Hit enter. Now you can see you get the same result, okay? 2 colon 5 gives you LLO. 2 colon, okay, there is no end value here. You still get LLO. Now the thing is, you're basically telling it to cover the rest of the elements, okay? So in this line, you are saying start at 2 and keep moving to the right, okay? Start at 2, keep moving to the right and cover all the elements. That is why it selects everything. Now the next thing is that what if you skip the start value, okay? So for example, if I write 0 colon 3, I get HEL, which is good because 0, 1, 2, those are included in this case. Since you're saying start at 0, end at 3, okay, so we get 0, 1, 2. Now if I skip the start value, it gives me the same result because by default it starts from 0, okay? If you skip the end value, it's gonna cover the rest of the elements. It will keep on moving to the right. If you skip the start value, it starts from 0, okay, the first element by default. Now in case you skip both, okay, there is no start value here, there is no end value here, you only have a colon. In this case, you get everything because you're telling it to start from 0 by default and you're telling it to move, to keep on moving to the right and cover all the elements. That is why it starts here and keeps covering everything. So you get everything, the complete string, when you do this. Now, whenever you're performing string slicing or string indexing, there's one rule that you have to keep in mind, okay? And the rule is always perform slicing or indexing from left to right, okay? Left to right. So if you write 0 as a start and 2 as the end, okay, it is a left to right approach and it will work fine. But if you flip them, okay, if you say start at 2 and end at 0, it is not going to work, okay? Let me show you this behavior. So I have the same string. I will add square bracket after it. Now I will say start at 0, end at 2. So 0, 2, and it gives me H and E, which is good. However, if I flip them, okay, instead of start at 0, I say start at 2 and end at 0, okay? So now it's opposite. Now you don't get anything, okay? Because in this case, you are performing a left to right approach. And in this case, you're telling it to go from right to left, okay? 2 to 0. You're telling it to move backwards. It cannot do that. That is why you don't get anything. Now there is a reason the indexing works from left to right, okay, and not from right to left. And the reason is by default, the step value is +1, okay. So if you're telling it to go from 0 to 2, it can do that because it is possible to go from 0 to 2 since the step value is +1, okay? Because 0 plus 1 makes it 1, 1 plus 1 makes it 2. So 0 to 2 is possible. However, if you say go from 2 to 0, now 2 can never become 0 because the step value is +1. Because 2 plus 1 will become 3, okay? So it is moving to the right direction. It is not moving to the left direction. That is why you don't get anything. Now, if you want to perform indexing from right to left, it is still possible, but you have to use negative step value, okay? Use negative step value for right to left slicing or indexing. So I have the same string, square bracket. If I say 2:0, I don't get anything. And like I said, you don't get anything because the step value is positive, okay? If you add a colon and you add a +1 here, you still don't get anything because this is the default step value, okay? 1. You write it or you don't write it, it is always 1, +1 by default. But in this case, since we want to go from right to left, okay, 2 to 0 backwards, we have to change this to negative. So if I use -1 here and I run, now it works. And a bonus tip is that if you want to reverse a string, okay, you write a colon here, another colon, and then you use a negative step value like this. Now it starts from here and go backwards. Since the step value is negative, if the step value is positive like this, now it goes from left to right. Okay, so now you have this thing which you can use to reverse a string if you want.